Was that the reason why we had about 1,000 senators, governors in South Africa watching a dismal Super Eagles performance, including people, some folks even from the central bank itself, and other people perhaps who have no business being in South Africa, even going for the closing marches, ceremonies as it were, while the nation is adrift? Of course, the budget is still not yet done, but we had all the money to go to South Africa.
I don't know how many of them went to South Africa, nor do I really care whether they go to South Africa. My problem is when you then make that an obsession of state, when you then make that the official preoccupation of the leadership, and I think that's where the disgrace arises.
So if we run a nation without a budget 7 months to the end, and perhaps another 3 months before we put the next one on the gas to prepare for 2011, you have a smile on your face. What does that tell you?
Well, you know, sometimes in Nigeria we tend to get used to things, even if they are terrible and debilitating. And I think for us as a people, we have gotten used to governance without a budget. I just laugh. Why I have a smile on my face is, as a chief executive officer, I dare not run my business for 1 day without a budget approved by the board. I dare not. But here, you know, our leaders get away with it, and our expectation as a people is so low. We have no expectation of our leaders, and we can't and do not hold them to account. So they carry on. 1 year after another year, a fiscal year ends without a budget. That's done. And all of this feeds into the environment that encourages corruption.
The Lamido Sanusi's-led central banks have been trying to do some part of the house cleaning and pushing the economy forward in terms of saying there will be stimulus packages for domestic airlines, for industrial manufacturers, about 150 of them on one side, then the deal with the Bank of Industry on another hand, and a few others like that. These are stimulus, isn't it? Without the stimulant.
Well, yes. I mean, I think you have issues, and part of the issues that the CBN may have really is that questions are asked: should a CBN have a fund for agriculture? Should a CBN have a fund for aviation? And should the CBN have a fund for SMEs? The CBN should just bother with the banks. My worry is that those who are asking these questions, and some of them are in positions of authority, may indeed be ensuring that these interventions, unique as they seem, do not bear the fruits that we all desire.
So some folks want to hijack
those
good intentions.
There are questions about whether, you know, the monetary side should be leading growth. There are questions, and if those questions are being asked by people who have the levers of power in their hands, then they will scuttle things, and that's a worry that I have indeed.
So it's not as if Lamido is not trying his best, as it were.
Well, I mean, he would try his best. Whether he's he has the right intentions, whether he's going about it the right way, that's another thing. Whether he's carrying everybody along, that's another thing. For instance, all these huge sums that we hear, we're yet to see the benefit. We're yet to see the benefit, and I would be glad for the CBN to tell us at some point what the benefits have been.
Who should be giving this stimulus? The central bank or the Minister of Finance?
It should be the Minister of Finance, sir. Without a doubt.
So what's Aganga doing?
I don't know. It should not be the central bank. The central bank can provide support for the banks. They should not be providing support for aviation, for airlines. Have you heard that happen in the States?
So who's in charge?
Well, that's the question. The president should be in charge. I would expect that as a president, he has his goal, he has his vision. And the CBN and the finance people are working to bring about the realization of that vision. There should not be one vision for the Federal Minister of Finance, another vision for the central bank. There should be one vision, and that's the vision of the president. Which is why, if you listen to Timothy Gartner talk, he keeps talking about the goal of the president. He is only a tool in the hand of the president to achieve his goal, to achieve his vision. And I wonder here whether we indeed have a united vision.
Or perhaps that will give us the United States. Very interesting you mentioned some of the things you do. How do you think the media, let's take the next 5 minutes with you also. How do you think the media should handle information management, disconnects, discordance tunes at various times from government office holders, sometimes as sensitive as the engine, the powers of the economy, the NNPC, within 24 hours, 2 ministers within the same cabinet, not an opposition. Of course, we wonder what the opposition would do if the same guys who are in the same boats disconnect and give several different tunes. So how does the soundbites sound to you yesterday? Well, of course, Aganga was drafted to that press briefing for effect, as it were, for photo ops, so that it makes what Dora Akunyili will say a lot more credible.
Well, I mean, isn't it interesting that the opposition parties haven't said anything as yet? But that's another matter for another day. I think that what the media should do is to be more critical of government, even in societies where government work more efficiently and more proactively. The media is more critical.
Have we been critical?
I don't think we have been anywhere near as critical as we should be. This is our nation. It is for our lives. It is for our children. There is no one more Nigerian than we are, and I don't think the media seem to understand that at all. We need to hold these people to account for every day that they spend in government on behalf of 150 million Nigerians. We're not doing that, and I think the media needs to be a bit more interpretative. It is not so much that Akinyili says that NNPC is not broke. We need to interpret that. In my view, what that signals is a clear crisis in governance. There's no question about that. It's not about the Babalola, it's not about Akinyili or about NNPC. It is a manifestation of a breakdown in government. There is no question about it at all. The NNPC has had a lot of attacks. I don't think they have friends, or many of them. There are people who are just not impressed with the way the NNPC runs. There's so much inefficiency, which is why it's laughable that we talk about a sovereign wealth fund. How are you going to fund that fund when you're spending billions every year in dollars importing petrol that you could easily be, refining in Nigeria?
Refining is the business of NNPC, isn't it?
How do you fund the fund? You can't. You said it. You had $25 billion. We have raided it in 2 years and brought it down to less than $4 billion. And still, our people are helpless. Salaries aren't being paid by some states. So how are you going to get the support of any state government to put its own money into a sovereign wealth fund for tomorrow when today its people can't get salaries? The media needs to be critical. The media needs to ask questions. The media needs to hold our leaders to account. And we're not doing that enough.
So sometimes when we have some government officials come out very hard and tough, as Lamido was the last few days, and Remi Balola was day before yesterday, we should say, well, it looks like some voices are there trying to say, look, things are not going well with this country, whether it's in the banking sector or in governance. Clearly.
I mean, thankfully you have some people, including Lamido, who are ready to speak their mind. For a journalist, that is like a blessing, really. I mean, you must latch on to what he says, you must drill down, and not just look at what he says, but look at the linkages, the connection to the rest of the economy and to other people. Because Lamido is not just talking about things of today, he's talking about the effect of the mess of yesterday, not just by one people, but by an entire system. And for me, that's the job of the media. He's indeed doing the work of the media. And if he has helped us, then we should take it and run with it and begin to ask the right questions and begin to unearth these processes that are providing sleepless nights for the Lamidos and others like him.
Well, thank you for trying to put some order in the
I hope there is order.
Thank you for coming in through on the show. Frank Aigbogun, the publisher, chief executive officer at Business Day, one of Nigeria's daily financial newspaper. We'll take a very quick break. We've got about 3 minutes left on the program, and we'll try to wrap it up for you this Thursday.